Hi, you guys. It is Amanda Haywood here with the Make Love Not War show, and I am on a quest to help angry wives and their spouses. And today we have a very special guest. It's Carl Studna. He did nothing less than follow a couple or follow many couples for 20 years. He's a true artist, he's a photographer, and he has influenced people ranging from Sir Paul McCartney to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Very impressive, and he has taken pictures of these people, and this has been published. So I'm very honored to bring you to this show as a different angle, and yeah, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. So first of all, I need to know, I'm dying to know what inspired you to make this book.
Well, first off, it's great to be with you, Amanda, and I'm so happy to share this theme because my life is dedicated to anchoring in greater love and peace through my art and through who I am. So thank you for that. Um, what inspired me was an interesting set of circumstances. Uh, I was photographing the musician, the singer-songwriter Kenny Loggins in the mid-90s. And at the end of our session that day in California, we're in his hot tub on the beach. And he had, within the year and a half, he had gotten married and wrote a awesome album called Leap of Faith, all about his love for his wife. And so he was in this huge love zone. Just, I mean, his songwriting, his whole way of being. So we're in this hot tub together, and he says to me, you know, if I were a photographer, what I would love to see when I'm looking in Julia's eyes when we're making love is all of the light and the passion and the presence and the trust and the willingness and the openness and all of these qualities that he was seeing during the sacred act. And so he said, so what do you think about that? I go, well, tell me more. He goes, well, so out of that discussion birthed the idea of this book. And it started with me photographing them, and then they didn't stay in the book for various reasons, but they were the seed. They planted that seed. And I knew that it was a huge endeavor of trust because it's such a sacred act, the act of lovemaking or just intimacy. So to have somebody there that's documenting that and photographing that would be letting me into the most sacred and trusting environment. So I had to sleep on it. And I woke up the next morning and really saw, yeah, I can do this in a way that's really honest and really authentic to anchoring in all that love is, so that I can be with each couple and really just be a mirror for the depth of their deep love and devotion and connection with each other. And that's how it got birthed.
Wow, and that is truly a requirement that is challenging to be able to be that person who can do that.
Yes, and once I saw that it was working, I mean, that it wasn't hindering people from, it wasn't creating self-consciousness with people. The people, well, to be a little more accurate, I chose very selectively different couples ranging in age, in ethnicity, and length of time together, from young blossoming love to a whole lifetime together, to same-sex couples. So I really wanted to have diversity, but the commonality that every couple needed to have was a very true, very devotional connection and love with each other, and the willingness to have a growing, expansive, conscious partnership with each other.
And I forgot to mention, it's called the evolution of loving.
Yes, evolution of loving. It is.
Loving. It's amazing.
And it's just about to come out. I just got the galleys, which is sort of like a proof. And there's a little sample. Woohoo! So there's a little sample of it.
20 years of work. Evolution.
Over 20 years, yeah.
Over 20, and it's 3 years of intense personal work for you to get it over the ramp and get it going. It has been
that's for certain. I could do a whole talk on just persistence and holding a vision for that long.
Wow.
because it went through a lot of changes. And um, you know, as an example, which I think I shared with you earlier, that it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I recognized that the world has evolved enough now to include a male and female couple in. So just about a year and a half ago, I went back and photographed two couples that I'd heard wonderful things about, that had both have been together about 20 years. And uh, so they were just included in the last couple of years, because the whole book is really about evolving love, and how if both partners are willing, and that's what it takes. You've got to have a mutual willingness if you're going to have a conscious partnership that's going to grow and expand.
Yeah.
And it takes the mutual willingness in order to have that evolution of the love that's possible continue to open and grow and flourish through changes, because we're always changing and we're always growing.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing birth you have given to this piece of art. And I love
Thank you.
this different perspective on couples. It was exactly what was needed, and it was amazing. And I just
Mhm.
viewed earlier today your lovely wife, Cynthia James.
Yes.
And I do believe the guy in the hot tub, Gay Hendricks, spoke about him in his book, The Big Leap. Does that ring a bell? I don't know if you know this.
Well, I know Gay Hendricks. Yeah.
I think
Uh,
this book called The Big Leap, I think he talks about the songwriter who wrote the song or the album Big
Leap of Faith.
Leap of Faith, exactly.
Leap
And
of Faith.
Gay Hendricks, he's not on this show. I'm hoping to get him on another show. But reading his book was just amazing in my own journey towards this passion project, as I call it. So
Yes.
it's amazing to
Yeah,
hear.
well, you've got a good memory, because at the time that I was birthing this and working initially with Kenny, uh, Kenny was good friends with Gay.
Yeah,
So I got to be acquainted with Gay and Katie Hendricks through Kenny at that time.
yeah,
And they've been doing groundbreaking work for so many years. In fact, their book, Conscious Loving, was to me one of the most comprehensive, mm, in-depth, powerful books on cultivating conscious relationship that I had ever read. And it was like my Bible during the time I was working on this in the early stages, and when I was first getting together with my wife, Cynthia.
oh, it's so amazing. Okay, we have a
Hmm.
number of questions we need to get to. Uh,
Sure.
what is the most powerful message in your book? Because this is all about your book and the birth of the evolution of loving.
Mhm. Yes. I would say the most powerful message of evolution of loving is what I started to talk about before, is the willingness to continue to go deeper and deeper in anchoring trust. And trust not just with your partner or with another person, but trust within yourself, that you can that you're willing to trust enough to be fully authentic, and to trust enough to fully tell the truth, and what Gay and Katie Hendricks talked about as the microscopic truth. So continually going deeper in how willing are we to really see what's true for us.
And to,
So, and then to be able to learn responsible ways of communicating that truth, so that you can be with, whether it's with a partner or whomever, a good friend, a business associate, whomever, but the willingness to be able to authentically communicate what's underneath, so that everything can be clear and transparent. And when that trust, the more that we anchor in that trust within ourselves, then in a partnership, it allows for such a greater container for opening and for basically releasing fears, because the fears are what bind us and keep us held back.
so from what you're saying, I'm thinking about two things. The first is that I compare it to the trust in God. If you're very religious, you have doubts and you have insecurities about your faith in God. And I feel it's the same
Mhm.
with love, that you have to every day say yes and trust it. And you will have these times where you are in doubt. Can I
That's
be
right.
and can I? But then you reconnect and you come back to trusting. And then,
Yes.
and to what you said, I thought about you have to be 100% honest about the honesty, because if you're not 100%, you can be misjudged or misunderstood. So there's a power in really exposing yourself,
Mhm.
and you cannot do anything but to be peaceful toward that person who really truly, exposes and are honest about how I'm hurting him, for example. Then you just hit the nail, and there's only good can come out of that. But it's hard to be that completely honest.
Yeah, and I think that's a great parallel, because um, what I've certainly learned in my personal life and in my almost 23 years together with Cynthia, uh, we share a similar spiritual practice. And having that practice and anchoring every day, whether it's a form of meditation or journaling or doing a type of affirmative prayer with each other, all of that, for me, anchors me more deeply in that divine presence, whether you call it God or whatever you want to name it. So the more that I'm able to be a clear, open channel with the divine or with the light. My whole career and my whole uh, theme of my life is about opening up to the light.
Oh yeah, as a photographer.
Yeah. And my first book is all about that. And so to me, the light and God, or the light and the divine, are the same thing. And the more that I'm open to fully be a receptor for the light of truth
Mm-hmm.
channeling through me, then that really can help with dispelling fears. It can help with having greater compassion, for letting go of judgment, for uh, learning how to be as present and listening as possible. So all of these qualities are qualities that are deeply delved into in this book through each couple, because I did interviews with each couple. It's not just photographs. It's an in-depth series of interviews, and I asked the couples all of these questions. How do you anchor deeper trust with each other? How when you're in a conflict with each other, how do you work through it? What's your way, your technique of working through it? So, and everybody is so diverse. Everybody's got their own ways.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Pardon
Don't
me?
they all have something with this trust? Like you trust in God, you trust in love, that you have to just trust the universe.
That's right. That's right. Cynthia and I both went through this master's degree program years ago called University of Santa Monica, and it was for spiritual psychology. And uh, one of the greatest lessons I learned from this 2-year full immersion. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's real life.
I'm going to decline that. Okay. Sorry about that.
It would be interesting if you picked it up.
Yeah. But I'm able to get back on point here. One of the most valuable things I got out of this program, because it was a full immersion program for 2 years,
Full time.
was that the more that I was able to dive into all fears, anything, any residue, any concerns, anything that was holding me back from being fully open, and go into it, like dive into it and be honest with myself, and then being able to be honest with the people that I was with there, because we do these processes. It really helped to basically clean house. It's like sweeping out cobwebs and
Did it
sweeping out.
help? I'm sorry, I'm just curious. Did it help that it was strangers? Was it easier to be that honest with them?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it helped with first with strangers, and then you could clean it up, or share about it with my wife or whomever, whoever, but it was always dealing with very true, authentic issues.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and so through that process, I reached a much greater place of recognizing that I am not my stuff. I am not my fears. I am not, who I really am, which is what you were alluding to. Who I really am has nothing to do with all of this conditioning the baggage that I grew up with and that I held on to. And so the more that I could recognize that I am not that, the freer that I can be to communicate anything and know. And it's like I don't have to hold on to shame about those things, because I recognize, yeah, these were, if there were certain things that I was unconscious about or certain things that I was holding judgment about myself for, I don't need to hold on to it, because if I'm able to know the truth of who I really am, then I can communicate anything and I can be anything, and nothing can hold me back in that way, because I'm blessing and I'm sending light to those things, and I'm doing it, and I've got my tool bag of ways of working through those things, not denial, not sweep them under the carpet, but really learning how to heal and bring light to those things, so that here I am. It's like, how can I be as authentic as possible? And in a relationship, I'm telling you, to me, that's the ultimate workshop.
Yeah, it is.
Being in a long-term relationship is the ultimate workshop, because if you can continue to stay open and be transparent and be loving and be compassionate with yourself and your partner, and learn, and anger comes up, shutting down comes up, how do you deal with that? And it's so that ongoing process of how we deal with the issue is the issue. That was the biggest tagline from that program. How you deal with the issue is the issue, and that's to me that's one of my mantras all the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I early on said to myself, if I start over now, if I quit, I really wanted to quit many times because it is very hard. But I just thought I'll just start over and I'll get to the exact same point with another man.
That's right.
It might not be exactly this, but I'll come to this because it's in me. So I just want to start all over again. I thought, all of this for nothing? I'm starting over.
It's a lot of work.
I know it's going to be there again after the honeymoon phase,
That's right. Well, that's the thing. I think the tempting thing for many people is the honeymoon phase, but we all know that only lasts for a certain period of time.
Then you might as well just take some drugs, I thought, because it's just the same effect.
Yeah. So I learned so much from these couples. That, as I mentioned, they were all very diverse, and they all shared their own unique stories. So part of what I think is the power of the message of this book is being able to really go into the depth of each couple's story of their lives and see, and some of them worked through challenges with each other. I mean, with some had one couple had the death of one of their young children, and how they needed to deal with that and feel the feelings and grow and see what the lessons were from that. More than one couple, the elder couples, their partners passed, and how they ushered them through the transition of passing, births, just really a pretty good reflection of lots of the infidelities, pretty good reflection of what goes on in the diversity of various relationships. And the same-sex couple, the women that I photographed a year and a half ago, their theme was about loving beyond labels. So how to let go of the labels that we attach to our partners, to sexuality, to how you identify in certain ways, to the conditioning that we've grown up with and with the expectations we have of our partners.
Because I find with a man and a woman, there are certainly so many labels. I actually had my husband one time, we were in a fight. We've been together 8 years. We fight a lot. We love each other a lot. And he was screaming at me, "I'm 5 times the woman you are." I'm more woman than you are. And he's like a big man, like a huge dude.
I love that.
And
I
it was
love
so
that. That's,
honest and true, and,
yeah.
and then we have,
Uh-huh.
crazy
Well,
stories.
and I can relate to that because I mean, if you're, I don't know what context he was talking about, but if you talk about certain traditional feminine qualities, that's a whole other area. There are certain ways that I embody more of the soft side in certain ways than my wife, and she in certain ways embodies more of the business side and the analytical side.
And
So
that's
I
why
can
we
relate to
come
that.
together in unity and yin and yang. We're
That's
complete
right.
opposites. Sometimes I think God is
Mm-hmm.
playing a joke, but I know that that's the ultimate test. And it
Mm-hmm.
is supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be so challenging that you just sometimes want to escape. But yeah, having faith.
Yeah, and that space is nice. Space is nice sometimes too. We
Yeah,
both are very busy traveling people, and so I think we both embrace having our own space at times. We're both independent people, and
yeah,
it's great to have independent time. Where I'm home by myself for certain periods of time and days, and it's great when we're together. And relationships. I mean, we're in such an evolving state with relationships, I think, in the world. I mean, you look at even 2 generations ago and how completely different that relationships were. And so they're evolving at a pretty radical, fast pace right now. And I think if we were to have this discussion 2 generations from now, it would probably be similar too. It'd be hard to even imagine. One of the things I wanted to say about the same sex, the women, and I'm purposely not calling them lesbians because one of the women doesn't consider herself a lesbian.
it's because the
She
word has like a weird brand to it, like weird association.
well well, but some women will claim and call themselves that or call themselves gay. But one of the women, Sunny, she was with men before she got together with her partner, and her message is she doesn't label herself as anything. I mean, she loves who she loves, and that's it. And she
Mhm.
doesn't want to be labeled in that way. And I think it's beautiful. And I'm finding the more that I talk with lots of young people that more and more young people aren't wanting to be labeled in as
Mhm.
far as their sexuality goes. And I think that's part of the evolution of love that we're experiencing right now and will continue to experience.
Yeah. So that brings me to my next question. How did they kind of affect your life following
Mm.
them?
In so many ways. Well, first off, it was, as I was mentioning, it was such an honor and a privilege to be with them in such loving and intimate ways. Not all of them were actually in the act of intercourse, but all of them, some were, but some of them, all of them were very intimate, just going into very loving and intimate places with each other. And I'll give one example of one couple because they probably had the most impact on me of any couple. Ron and Margot, they had a traditional marriage for about 27 years, raising a family. And once the kids were grown and they were out of the house, uh, they recognized that their relationship had gotten sort of stale, that they got into these patterns and it wasn't growing. And they wanted to be feeling a freshness and a newness. And so they both agreed that they would split up, and they both started dating other people, but she hadn't moved out yet. But they were still very progressive,
It's very interesting.
progressive California, relationship. So they're seeing other people, and then I think she broke her leg, and she ended up needing to stay at the house for a while. She's the one that had left, I think, and they realized by being together and talking more and reevaluating after a certain period of time apart that how much they deeply did love each other, that it wasn't that the love was gone, they just needed to find a new way of being with each other that would allow them to open up and expand and have a growing, expansive, truthful, conscious partnership that was more fulfilling. So they created this practice, daily practice that they called their promise. And every day they would spend a certain amount of time in the bedroom, and it didn't have to be sexual, but it would be a time of giving and receiving with each other, and they would trade off, and they'd ask, what would you like? And the partner would give that to the other, and they would trade off. And it started with 5 minutes, and then over several years, it became an hour and sometimes 2 hours. And they kept this up as a daily practice, as something, as a promise to each other. So they symbolized for me that how possible it is if we're willing to take the time and be vulnerable to be with our partner and expand and grow in ways of loving and intimacy beyond what we've ever experienced or what we've ever known. And so and on many levels, I just witnessed, and then he's one of the couples, one of the partners that passed. And the last interview I did with them he was about a month away from passing. And he had stage 4 lung cancer, but he was still able to walk and be very communicative. And what he shared and what they both shared about how he was dealing with feeling all the feelings and feeling the pain, I mean, the physical pain, and how she was able to be there for him through that. The way it was communicated and the way it's written in this book, it just was such a deep and powerful reminder to me that devotion, and I'll talk about the devotion in a partnership, devotion can be ever expanding. It can always be growing, and we can always go deeper in how we can be present within ourselves and be present for a partner and be transparent and learn to mesh in more deep and more fulfilled ways.
So that's actually the answer to my next question. What does evolving love mean to you? Would that be some of the answer to that? Or all of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would definitely be I would say the most intricate, the most integral part of evolving love to me is how willing are we, in each moment to be open and to be present with who we are and with our partner, and truly listen and truly honor what the other person's perspective is, rather than going straight to a judgment or an assessment in a certain way.
Because it's very random that you're truly interested in the answer. Like,
right.
you actually ask, you ask to get a point across, right? You never really ask, to
I know it's such a common and conditioned response, where especially if we're at odds, where you're listening to someone, but you're also kind of thinking about how you're going to respond and retaliate in a certain way,
or defend a story that you want to tell, and it's just saying you just have this prefixed story, and that's all you're doing is telling that story in various versions. So zeroing out and then asking or don't ask if you're not interested.
Right. Right. So it really, I see, requires continuously letting go of that part of the ego that wants to control and wants to be right and wants to know the answers and all of that. And I say that part of the ego because I don't dislike the ego. I think we need an ego to be in human form and to have an identity and to be able to talk and converse and, to get along. But that part of the ego.
Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't learn as much if we didn't have the ego. So it's there, but just let it go, let it ride, and then
we'd all just be, like this all the time.
Love. Yeah, definitely. Good point. So let's talk about your free gift to the Make Love Not War listeners.
Yes. Okay. So I have a free gift for you. It's a little slideshow mini version of the book with half the couples. So it features 4 of the couples with little quotes underneath the pictures. There's several pictures of each couple with beautiful music from my friend Benjamin Dowling. Wow. And I think it really touches our heartstrings watching this, because it gives a glimpse of each couple's devotion with each other, their tenderness, their openness, blended with the music, and with a little bit of verbiage that describes some aspect of their love for each other and what they learn from each other.
Amazing work. It's just amazing the journey you've been on and what you have created and your call to create this.
Thank you, Amanda.
A story in itself. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a truly evolving process, and I'm so grateful that the book is about to be released. It's coming out on March 6th, as the launch date is March 6th.
Wow.
Shall I give the details now or later?
Yeah, please. This is
okay.
Going to be out around Valentine's sometime in February.
It's going to be out a little after Valentine's Day, but pre-sales are happening now. Mm-hmm. So if you go to evolutionofloving.com, evolutionofloving.com, it'll take you to a page, my homepage, and there's a little interview with me talking about the process of the book, and a description and a link for Amazon. And you can order it now and as a pre-sale, and then give it to someone as a little belated Valentine's gift. It would be a perfect Valentine's gift.
When is Valentine's, actually? I keep forgetting. It's not that
Valentine's Day. I should know this. It's the 14th. I think it's February 14th.
So this might be airing just before Valentine's.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a link to this, and you have to pick at least one of the experts and go deeper with them. So if you want to do this because it's the most enjoyable and easy, and you don't really have to search within yourself and answer all the difficult questions, then choose this and enjoy the art and look at it. So that will be your homework.
Yes. Beautiful homework.
Pardon?
Beautiful homework.
Yeah, exactly. So there's something for everyone. I really, really love having this angle to the Make Love Not War show.
It's such a pleasure. I love that you asked me, and this is my work. This is my dharma right now.
Yeah.
And it's always been through my photography, but with this book, this is where it's at.
It's going to be so incredible to see where this will take, where the book will go to. Where will this journey starting now in March? And we'll see what happens. Some amazing stuff is going to happen after you put that out there.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel that. I sense that. And I'm just holding on to my seat and embracing what the ride will be. Because my greatest desire is that it touches as many people as I know would benefit from it, and worldwide. And I think that it really will attract people of all ages. So let it fly.
And if you ever want to come all the way to Denmark on your book tour, extended photograph tour or art tour, whatever, let me know. I'll be sure to help as much as I can and be there voting for you, or anywhere else in Europe.
Thank you. I've yet to, Cynthia and I have yet to go to Denmark, and I've been drawn. So we will be in touch at some point.
Don't come unless it's summer, though. Only
okay.
It's very dark.
Okay. Yeah. So make it a little brighter. Okay. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you so much. Namaste, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Inshallah, wherever you are. God bless you. Amen. Thank you. Bye-bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.